The internet is grey, and also the policing is not so straightforward. But I think even then, in principle, we should say today is a quiet day. I cannot control several million videos on YouTube, but your website, what you're putting out in your own name, I think that should end on the day before the cooling off day.
Cooling Off Day was born in Singapore on the 1st of July 2010. It was birthed by our government to protect the citizenry from the danger of emotional voting. As the government states on its official website, quote, "The day before polling day is known as Cooling Off Day. There is a prohibition against election campaigning during this 24-hour period to give voters some time to reflect rationally on issues before voting," unquote. The Bukit Batok SMC by-election saw the candidate for the Singapore Democratic Party, Chee Soon Juan, face off the ruling party's candidate, Murali Pillay. The by-election were done and dusted on the 7th of May 2016. The ruling party's candidate, Murali Pillay, won with 61.21% of the votes, beating his rivals 38.79%. The by-election was over, but the election department was not done. 20 days later, on the 27th of May 2016, the election department announced that it had filed police reports against social-political site The Independent Singapore, Teo Soh Lung, and Roy Neng for possible election advertising. The raid on Soh Lung's place took place on the 31st of May 2016, more than 3 weeks after the Bukit Batok by-election had concluded.
What happened was that on the 27th of May, a reporter called me and asked me, "Do you know the election department has filed a complaint against you?" I was at my brother's house. I said, "What?" Then he said, "Yeah, you know, you didn't know ah?" I said, "No, I didn't know." Then that was it lah. Then the whole day I was wondering what complaint they filed against me. So when we went down, quite frankly, I never expected it to be anything serious. I thought just a small matter, maybe 1-2 hours, I'll be off already. But the questions were not very serious. The question was, something like, did you post this? How many likes? How many? What's the other thing called? Likes and not shares. And I said, I cannot remember. Everything is on the Facebook. Then questions like, why you did this? Did anybody help you? I said, no lah. I manage all this myself.
During the police interview, Soh Lung readily acknowledged that the publications the election department had complained of were made by her and her alone.
So about the raid, I think I was shaken because I never expected them to come to my house to seize my properties. It being the offences were not so serious as to warrant a seizure from the house. And also, I think it never crossed my mind because none of the activists who had their equipment taken away had their houses raided by the police. So there was a sense that they won't. I never expected them to come to my house to seize the properties. And what was worse also is not just 1 or 2 officers; it's 8 of them coming in 2 cars. That is totally unnecessary lah. Maybe it was a way to intimidate me. I don't know. When they said that they were going to search my house, actually I was very upset because it means that whatever that I have inside the house, they can take a look and they can also seize it. And not only that, I think the manner in which they executed this seizure was bad because I'm just one person, but they have 8 officers I don't know why they require 8 officers, because surely they don't need to overpower me. 4 or 2 even is more than enough to search my house. But they have a team from the Central Division, and then they have another team from the Forensic Department, and that makes 8. And I think all of them entered the house. And the first thing that they did was to photograph the living room, everything, without my permission, of course. And that was very upsetting, because I say, why do you need to photograph all this? You know, it's my house, and you only want the computers, you just take the computers, you know. There's no need to photograph my house. This is not a murder scene or something, a big crime that has been committed inside the house.
If found guilty of an offence of election advertising, Soh Lung would be facing a fine not exceeding $1,000 or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 12 months, or to both. In February 2017, the police informed Soh Lung that their investigation had ended. Soh Lung was given a stern warning in lieu of prosecution and asked to collect her seized items. On collection of her items from the police, Soh Lung found that her laptop was damaged beyond repair.
In relation to the election department's complaints, there has not been any precedent of anyone who has been investigated having their properties seized from their home. And here, I think I can recall Nicosia, Tim Pei Ling, and even Vivian Balakrishnan in the general election in 2015.
We were just following up on the status of a report that we had lodged. What happened was the elections department has informed us that they will not pursue investigations, and they are non-conclusive until we make a police report. Because if we do not, they will not pursue the matter.
Well, police have confirmed that a report was lodged against MP for Marine Parade GRC Tin Pei Ling for allegedly violating cooling-off day guidelines. On polling day, the National Solidarity Party's Nicole Seah had approached the Elections Department about this matter. But Ms. Seah was directed to channel her queries to the police.
The LD responded to our queries after a tweet from the Minister of the Environment and Water Resources, Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan, caused a minor ripple online. The tweet about Dr. Balakrishnan's meeting with constituents during his walkabouts was sent out at 1:52 a.m. today in the early hours of cooling-off day.
In my mind, the Parliamentary Elections Act is meant for political parties to stay cool and don't try and influence the voters. You know, in my mind, that was the situation. And so when I posted all my 4 articles, it was very clear to my mind that I have not committed any offence. I didn't expect it, because I am no longer in the political party, and I should be free to express what I think. And I wasn't encouraging people to vote for Dr. Chi or to vote for Murali. That particular post that I wrote was simply my opinion of the unfairness of the media that night. It was giving so much airtime to the PAP and just so little for the opposition SDP. So because of that, I wrote the article. And while I was at it, I shared some articles. So it was really unintentional that I wanted to influence voters' minds on the by-election. And if I had wanted to influence, I failed. So it's quite crazy that the government think that I have so much power to influence.
Was it necessary for the police to seize her handphone, her laptop, her desktop CPU, which comprised all her personal communication devices? The seized items contained materials that went far beyond relevancy to the publications that were the subject matter of the election department's complaints. The seized items also contained personal information which will be open to scrutiny by total strangers. Was it necessary for 7 to 8 police officers to step into a home? Was it necessary to spring a surprise visit to Soh Lung's home?